a lot of people were introduced to NFTs when they heard about, like, I don't know, big sales, right? Like, or Bored Ape, right? Like just the
CryptoPunks
massive,
probably.
yeah, CryptoPunks, Bored
Yeah.
Apes, or any of the really big sales, right? And so I think people
Beeple.
are trying to replicate. Yeah, Beeple is a good example,
Yeah.
like the $60 million sale,
Right.
right? People are
That
trying to
got a lot of
replicate.
headlines. Yeah, for sure.
And it's kind of what got me excited too, right? Seeing that there was so much money and interest flooding into the space all at once was like a beacon. And I think that there's people are trying to replicate that success, and it's really easy. And the way that they're trying to replicate it is in collections where it's really easy to try to figure out what something's worth. So the easier it is to figure out the price, like for people to kind of have a conception of what the price is, the more activity it's seeing. And that's why like a collection or like Algorand is doing really well, is because it's really easy, right? Traits especially make it really easy for people to kind of guess at what the price is, or have some uh, estimate or inference about what the price should be, and then they can flip it and they can try to make a profit off of that. And I think that's what's driving a lot of the interest right now. I don't know if that's going to last forever. I think that the future is definitely going to require like people are going to be coming, like what's going to bring the average everyday user to NFTs. I think what's blowing it up right now is the ability to trade, right? The fact that you can trade these images is a new thing. Nobody's ever seen that before. And if you can guess what the price is, the easier it is to guess the price, the more it's going to be traded, the more you'll be able to flip it for. That's kind of how I see it, at least.
All right, welcome back to AlgoHQ. I'm Karel here with Evan Maltz, PhD candidate at UCLA's Biochemistry and Chemistry Division, also the Chief Science Officer of Zestbloom, an NFT marketplace on Algorand. Evan, we linked up in LA a few weeks ago. Welcome to AlgoHQ.
Nice. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate the invitation.
Yeah, man. Glad to have you on here. I want to talk to you because early on in this channel's life, I had the founders of Zestbloom on, and Ryan and Jasmine, and that was like pre-product, pre-everything. It was just like they showed me a really early design of the website, and it's been about 6 months since then. You weren't even on the team back then, so I guess first, like, I want to hear about Zestbloom, but like first, how'd you get involved in the team, and how'd they find you?
What's really funny is actually the way I found Zestbloom was from that interview.
Oh, wow.
So I mean, I found him on Reddit. I saw the interview. I was like, oh, these people seem cool. This seems like a cool community. I reached out to them immediately after seeing that interview. That was like my first introduction into Zestbloom and kind of like, the Algorand development community as a broader thing.
Holy crap. That's actually like insane, because that's the exact reason I started this channel, was to try to like find builders and people who'd be interested. And I can't believe it. Like, I mean, I can believe it, but it's really nice to know that it worked like all the way back then.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I guess everyone's glad to have you in this community now. You've become a vocal person, a personality, a thought leader, one might say, in the community, or a contributor, definitely, because this is decentralized. So what's the latest with Zestbloom? As you joined the team, what were you guys working on? What do you work on now? Like, what's the roadmap? And that's a big question, but let me just simplify it. Like, what's going on with Zestbloom right now?
Yeah, so we got a lot of stuff in development. We're still, working out, trying to make I think the main overarching goal that we're really trying to solve is like, how do we make Algorand consumer friendly for the broader community, right? Like, there's definitely a crypto echo chamber, right? Like a small percentage of the world, small percentage of the US uses crypto, and even smaller percentage is trading NFTs, right? It's like really the 0.01% of the population, maybe like 5% of the crypto community, 10% of the crypto community is like actively trading NFTs.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that presents a problem of like, how do you get the average user, how do you get people who aren't in that bubble right now participating? And I think the answer to that question is you got to make something social, you got to make it user friendly, you have to make it like as easy and simple as possible, and it has to look nice. And that's really what Zestbloom was created to solve, was to make to export crypto to the masses, build an application, just like Instagram is like an image sharing, content sharing application. Try to build that, but crypto native, make it decentralized and give people ownership over the assets on the platform, right?
Mm. So with this whole like new phenomena of trading NFTs, which has come around in the past few years, you could say like in the past 5 years, but then in 2021, it really had like the big blow up. And here we're recording this on, I think it's February 7th, 2022. So
Yep.
2021 seemed to be the year that art NFTs, because I actually want to specify art NFTs, like illustration, digital JPEG mostly. And there's also animations and video too, but I think 2021 was the biggest year for visual art, because an NFT can technically be anything. And you guys actually offer a lot of different things on Zestbloom, whether it be audio or 3D models or pictures and video. But why do you think art has evolved in the NFT space from a collecting type of thing to a trading and flipping type of thing?
Yeah, so I mean, I think the trading flipping stuff is actually less common with like art NFTs. It's more common with collections and PFPs and stuff. At least from what I've observed, it seems like a
I
lot of
guess
it.
I'm including those in art NFTs. Like if
Okay, okay.
it's, anything visual, that's kind of what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I really do feel like people are trying to, like, a lot of people were introduced to NFTs when they heard about, like, I don't know, big sales, right? Like, or Bored Ape, right? Like just
Crypto
the
punks
massive,
probably.
yeah, CryptoPunks, Bored
Yeah.
Apes, or any of the really big sales, right? And so I think people
Beeple.
are trying to replicate. Yeah, Beeple is a good example,
Yeah.
like the $60 million sale,
Right.
right? People are
That
trying to
got a lot of
replicate.
headlines. Yeah, for sure.
And it's kind of what got me excited too, right? Seeing that there was so much money and interest flooding into the space all at once was like a beacon. And I think that there's people are trying to replicate that success, and it's really easy. And the way that they're trying to replicate it is in collections where it's really easy to try to figure out what something's worth. So the easier it is to figure out the price, like for people to kind of have a conception of what the price is, the more activity it's seeing. And that's why like a collection or like a Algorand is doing really well, is because it's really easy, right? Traits especially make it really easy for people to kind of guess at what the price is, or have some uh, estimate or inference about what the price should be, and then they can flip it and they can try to make a profit off of that. And I think that's what's driving a lot of the interest right now. I don't know if that's going to last forever. I think that the future is definitely going to require like people are going to be coming, like what's going to bring the average everyday user to NFTs. I think what's blowing it up right now is the ability to trade, right? The fact that you can trade these images is a new thing. Nobody's ever seen that before. And if you can guess what the price is, the easier it is to guess the price, the more it's going to be traded, the more you'll be able to flip it for. That's kind of how I see it, at least.
Right. And you got a great point there. When NFT profile picture series, for example, first came out, CryptoPunks were like the first real big ones, but there's also CryptoKitties before them, and probably like a few others that I can't remember off the top of my head. But you're right that it was the fact that it was such a new form of trading that probably was the most, and still might be the most speculative asset class around, because it's completely like arbitrary. But then people started introducing like rarity tickers, and that kind of gave slight like indication of the value. So that's a good point. But a lot of people believe now, and I personally believe it too, that NFT series need to evolve into giving the holder something more than just a possible flip. And that's why people are starting to build out DAOs, decentralized organizations, using NFTs, or they build some utility into it. Like it can be as simple as a Discord channel, or it can be as grand as extra rewards in a DeFi protocol or something like that. And we see all these types of things. So when it comes to NFT series, like what do you think is a natural progression? Like where should NFT series go from here to bring it from speculative trading on assets to actually like usability?
Yeah, I definitely got. I mean, you got to think about the reasons why people want to own them, right? And like one reason to own an NFT is you get to be part of a club, or I get to advertise to everybody that I own this image. I'm
Right.
part of this group. So there's that component of it. I don't think there's been too much development or progress in the like consumable content component, right? Like another part of it is like there's content there to look at, browse, consume. And the more people who look at that content, the more valuable it is intrinsically, right? Like you can run ads against a really popular content and you can distribute ad revenue to the people who own that NFT, right? Like that's a great reason to own an NFT,
Mm.
but that requires a platform where people can browse the content natively on chain. And there's also, a third reason, which is the like, the trading and the flipping and stuff. And so you got to people have to explore those applications. I think people have done a really good job with the like trading flipping application, which requires you to track the numbers, right? Like the better you can track the numbers, the
Right.
more bang for your buck you're getting out of that side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And PFPs did a good job, and traits do a good job with the like exclusive community stuff. I think that's also where DAO implementations are going to kind of elevate the playing field, right? Like the more you can give people, the more like rights, responsibilities, power your NFT has in that community, the more valuable it is to be part of that community,
Mm.
right? Like so
Exactly.
people,
Yeah.
that's why that's driving in that direction, because the value of being in the community and the exclusivity and stuff is coming from what the NFT can do in the community. And then that second one, I don't feel like people are exploring very much, right? Like there needs to be platforms, there needs to be consumable content, there needs to be a way to create value at an NFT by bringing eyes to it, right?
Right.
Like and the way that evolves in my vision is, people start running ads and building platforms like Instagram, Reddit, et cetera, where people can come to consume the content. And just getting eyes on that NFT is what gives it value.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've seen that in the biggest series on Ethereum, especially Bored Apes, because
Yeah,
Bored
yeah.
Apes right now, like at the current moment of recording, seem to be peak popularity. Like I don't know how much higher they can go, and maybe I'm wrong, but when you have Justin Bieber buying a Bored Ape for 2 million, it kind of seems top signally to me. And I don't really know how much bigger they can get because he's already one of the biggest celebrities in the world. So
Right.
like, where do you go besides him? You go to the president, like, like do you go to like I don't even know.
What
Um,
about that band?
which one?
There's like a band where the members all own a board ape, and it's gonna be like gorillas type. It's like they're fake characters.
I didn't even know about that. That sounds cool. That's a
I
cool
forgot the
idea
name. Yeah,
because
that
with
right. I could see that kind of stuff emerging.
You're right, yeah, because with Bored Apes, one unique thing about them is that if you own the ape, you own the copyrights to it, or like
Yeah.
the image rights to it, which is not applicable to all NFT series. I want to ask you, the NFT scene on Algorand, like how do you think the NFT scene on Algorand can learn from the Ethereum, ups and downs in that same NFT like world and improve on it? Like how can we in this very early stage improve on what Ethereum did? Because they did blow up, but it wasn't always the smoothest sailing.
I definitely think ASAs are a huge improvement over smart contract NFTs. Like it lowers the bar, and there's also like the fact that you can see it in your wallet is kind of like it like there's a it's a better primitive in my opinion. I know there's like a lot of technical opinions about it, but like uh, when you start wrapping smart contracts around those primitives, then you can facilitate functionality that still requires you to like. It's easier to do snapshots. It's easier to do a lot of things, I think. And like, it's kind of a tough question to answer, right? Like, what can we do better? I think from the technology perspective, like faster trading, cross chain stuff, multi chain stuff is going to get there. I also think that like making it easier to see that you own that NFT and like the peer-to-peer components of it, and maybe just building complex smart contracts around those primitives will be enough. Like something like what Octorand has done, I think is pretty cool, where there's an ASA component to it and a smart contract component to it. So like when you buy an Octorand, you see it in your wallet. There's an ASA there, but the ASA has trading rules with a contract wrapped around it that
Mm.
control how it's moved around. So something I feel like the ASA primitive is maybe a big area.
that will like empower greater layers to be built on top of it. And yeah, Octorand is a cool project. To be fair, I looked into it last night. I wasn't like early on it, so I don't really like understand it fully. But I definitely know that it's become like super, super popular and super, super hot recently. So I'll definitely have to look into that. What do you think, like from a community standpoint, can Algorand NFT series learn from ETH NFT series to become that big?
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely think we've done a good job trying to figure out the like PFP side of things. I think that's done really, really well. One thing I haven't seen yet that's kind of exciting is the oh man, I forgot the name, but there's that horse racing game on ETH.
Zedrun.
Zedrun, exactly. Yeah. I haven't seen something quite like that. Like Octorand is getting close. It's much simpler version. It's like Zedrun meets Wordle or something. I don't know. It's like a, like a fun word game. But I do think that interactivity is a big thing that's missing. I've seen a couple examples like Null has some NFTs that are, it's just an HTML document, but what renders on screen is there's an Algo Explorer API call. So it actually looks at the blockchain, it sees who the owners were, and then it populates the NFT based on the owner history. I haven't seen, like I've only seen a handful of examples of that kind of stuff. And I think that like the other thing that NFTs on ETH do is right, those like the algorithm based, they're generated by an algorithm, and the uniqueness of the NFT is encoded as an algorithm, right? Like those squiggles, the chromies or whatever they're called.
Yes, the generative art block stuff. Like when
art
you
block, yeah.
For anyone who's listening and doesn't know, an art block NFT, from my understanding, when you mint it, it gets generated. So the art doesn't actually exist before you purchase it, and then that triggers a smart contract to mint the work. And so each one of them comes out fresh out the oven, metaphorically, and that's kind of what makes it exciting. So it's a bit like of a dice roll, or maybe like comparable to like a FIFA pack opening or something like that, where like you kind of don't know what you're gonna get. And we don't have that on Algorand yet. Here's the thing. Here's the problem I have with NFTs. Here's the problem I have with like rarities. Sometimes the rarest pieces look absolutely crap. Like, just in my opinion, like, and that's just my opinion, right?
Sure.
But I feel like maybe people get a little too focused on rarities when you go outside of this echo chamber and outside of like the tiny community, the NFT community, and most people like aren't even caring about rarity of anything like that, because like the only people who care about the rarity are the other people involved in the community. So that like is a limiting factor for really anybody. And that's what you see with Bored Apes right now, right?
Yeah.
I don't think Justin Bieber cared about the rarity of his. I think he just bought it because he liked the look of it, because it was crying, and then he posted on Instagram like he was depressed. And so like he bought a Bored Ape for 2 million, and then it was like a crying Bored Ape, and he said something like, "No one understands me. I'm all alone." Like, and he can post this Bored Ape with it, and it's like, this is my Bored Ape that represents me. So I think like maybe I think the pendulum swings, and right now it's really heavy on the rarity side, but and in the early days of the Algorand ecosystem, before we had comprehensive trait tracking, ARC69, we had ARC3, and most series weren't even using it. Algowanas was not using it. Now they use it. Corvus was not using it, still doesn't use it, I don't believe. And those are some popular series on Algorand. I guess what I'm leading toward is like, what do you think? Do you value the rarities of a piece more, or the look of it more, just from a personal standpoint?
I personally like the look. I think that the art matters. Like I've published a few NFTs. They're not part of a series. It's just my own paintings. I donated one of them to the Coffee DAO, and the reason why I get excited about it is because I think they look cool, and that's what I buy. I buy stuff that looks cool. I do think that the rarities are given a lot of attention because the numbers are easier to track, and that's what traders care about. Traders care about objective numbers. I think someone, I hope it's me, builds a system that better calculates what people's subjective opinions are about the look. Like rarity does not capture that at all, right? And that's kind of what the question is, right? Like the subjective appearance, the beauty in the eye of the beholder, something that has to I think there's a way to aggregate that opinion from the crowd and give that a number, and then traders will care about what people think a lot more, because there will be a number on the NFT that summarizes what people think it looks cool.
Yeah, maybe like a voting system on just cool factor, like the cool scale. People could just vote 1 to 10 on like the cool factor, and like that will just get averaged out. You need something like that. But again, it is opinion based, right? And I guess the rarities of an NFT do give a framework to determine at least some arbitrary value or non-arbitrary value, excuse me, like objective value. This is number 1,000 out of 5,000 rarity. So you're in the top 20 if that were the case. But I think sometimes when it comes to people investing in NFTs and using it as an investment vehicle, it becomes maybe confusing, because they're thinking, oh, I like this series, I like how this one looks, but it's like way less rare than the other one. And the other one, I hate how it looks. So what do I get? And like, what would you do in that situation? You go for the one you like better, or would you?
Yeah. I mean, also in general, it's like, which one can I afford? Some of them get super expensive, but yeah, I think it's whichever one looks cool. I think that will eventually, my personal opinion prediction, I think the looks will overtake rarity as a metric of popularity.
I think they do always over time, but the rarity is a vehicle. It's fuel to get it more popular. Because
one of them is a low volume metric, and the other one's a high volume metric.
Right.
So because there's low volume right now, the low volume metric is winning.
Right. Like on CryptoPunks, once CryptoPunks hit hundreds of thousands or millions per punk, it wasn't really about rarity anymore. It was more just wealthy individuals and celebrities buying punks that kind of looked like themselves or reminded them of something or something about themselves. And so I think like that's kind of a very telling sign. Same with Bored Apes. The rarity Jeopardy game, casino, whatever rotation will create that trading volume and maybe boost up the floor like consistently until it reaches like a larger scale audience, and then people just start to hand pick because the point I'm getting toward is that the general public doesn't really care about rarity in NFTs.
Yeah, for sure.
Like if we're talking about Zestbloom as a platform to get, or that one of the goals is to introduce NFTs, NFT marketplaces, and various forms of NFT to like a greater audience, then yeah, it stands to reason that like as the series grows, rarities become less important. I want to talk about the other types of media you guys like allow to be posted on Zestbloom besides JPEGs, and like PNGs or profile pictures. You have video, you have audio, you have 3D models, and a few others. Which of these mediums do you think has the most potential like over this next year?
I think so video, audio are already pretty popular. I think text is going to blow up, I'm hoping. Like if you think about it, there's a lot of interesting applications you can do, right? Like there's a reason why Ask Reddit is one of the most popular subreddits. I think it's like 1 or 2. There's like funny, and then there's like Ask Reddit, right? It's definitely up there in the top 5.
Right.
So I think text format, and Twitter is also another example of text format, right? Like it's a primarily text-driven social media application. So I don't know that we're gonna fully capture the like social media aspect of it that I'm kind of highlighting, but I do think that there's a lot of potential in text that's totally not captured right now in current NFT markets. I don't know who's gonna figure it out first. I hope we do, but I think there's a lot of potential for text.
If I can like prod you to keep going with that, like what's your idea for making a text-based NFT? What would you do if you were
so people are doing poetry and stuff like that. I think that that's not interactive enough. I think it would be really, really interesting to come up with text plus interactive, right? Like if you can somehow create an NFT that takes in user responses, And, you know, like choose your own adventure would be really, really cool, right?
Mm.
It doesn't even have to be that explicit, right? Like my background's in machine learning, and deep learning. So like, I think there's really some interesting things you could do with taking in input from a lot of people, right? Like you can build an NFT that's free to participate in, but costs money to own, right? Like
Mm.
I think that's a really cool area, right? So you can come up with a prompt, right? You can make a prompt, that's a text NFT. People can put in their responses. And then the NFT, is an aggregate of all those responses, and then you can synthesize some form of media, some text, some other text based on those inputs.
Mm.
Like I don't know, question answer. I think there's so much possibility for interactive text NFT.
So let's say you post if there. I think. Yeah, I think what you're getting at is cool. Like an NFT that's malleable in some way. Um, like it's like the concept of ask Reddit. Like you ask a question and I answer it, and if like once I answer it, it's like clocked in, and that's like the answer, and then maybe people can like own that or buy that conversation or something. Like maybe it's really interesting. That's a cool idea. Talking about machine learning, Algorand, or really Borderless Capital, which is like an extension of Algorand, bought the robot Sophia,
Yeah,
which is like an AI, semi-humanish looking robot. Do you know? You probably know more about Sophia than me, right? Like,
I don't know too much honestly. I know that it's like it's got it's like basically like a chat bot, but with a husk, a robotic husk around it. So it
right.
mimics some expressions and it does some. I don't know too much though, so I don't want to.
Well, they bought it because Sophia the AI is going to make NFTs that are going to be published on Algorand. Some people object to this because they think that an AI cannot make art because it's not a human inspired thing. What's your take on that? Like, can an AI have emotions? Is art emotion based, or is it just what's presented to us? Like, and it doesn't matter where it came from.
Oh, this is a fun question. This is very like. I mean, I'm beauty in the eye of the beholder. I think that the art happens and the reaction like the reaction generates the value there afterwards. It doesn't really matter too much who the creator is. Like, I think nature is art, right? Like I've been there's been moments where I felt the same way I feel in a museum when I'm like sitting there looking at Yosemite. Uh, it evokes an emotion, right? And I don't think that there necessarily needs to be conscious intention in creating the art. And I think actually a lot of art is like is not conscious intention, right? Like it's a lot of it is stuff that's just bubbling up from your right, like it's your brain mixing images and memories, experiences, etc. And I don't
Right.
think there's a lot of conscious control over that process anyway.
Right.
I think an AI could make art for sure. Like I haven't seen a lot of examples of AI generated art that made me feel something. Um, so I haven't seen it yet. I think it's definitely possible. Like I don't know. That's my personal
Right.
view.
A lot of AI art and a lot of AI art is made into NFTs, and a lot of this is programs which you feed a variety of images or keywords or bits of information that the bot can then scan the internet for and kind of create like a compound image using like bits and pieces of everything. It's like a deep fake type of thing, or there's a word for this, right? There's a term for it, like this generative art. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah. In like specifically the like VQ generated. Like I mean, the term I've heard is generative art, right? For
Generative art.
it's which is a big category and doesn't
Right.
just include stuff AI generated. But
Right. I think Sophia. Here's the thing. Sophia the AI was made by humans. So
yeah,
any AI, if the AI was not made by AI,
okay,
which even then you could trace it back to the human influence. Like everything has a human influence. No matter what we created, it has a human influence. This AI clearly has to learn from something, and it learns
right.
from a lot of experiences. And I'm sure the scientists that built the AI
That's
have had a huge impact on the personality of the AI. So I would think that the robot creating art is a reflection of all the things that that she, quote unquote, she has learned from humans. So I personally do believe it's art. It's a reflection of the compounded human brain. Like, and I think that's pretty cool. What about audio NFTs, music? I feel like
Yeah.
if 2021 was the year that visual art, profile pictures, and things like that, Beeples and blah blah blew up, the music industry is completely untapped. Like for any especially in a cheap and affordable way. Like I don't think any of the Ethereum music NFT services have popped off. And there's a few coming on to Algorand. If I can name drop, Dequency, Opulus, Crescendo, A Note. There's another one called Loser that I just found out about. What do you think of music NFTs? Because I personally think uploading the same song that I upload to Spotify and asking people to buy it like it's iTunes is not really attractive. So how do you have any ideas about how musicians can kind of utilize this new technology? And like, I know it's a difficult question, but like, I'm just wondering if you have any ideas about it.
Yeah, I think that there's things are changing significantly, right? Like the thing that NFTs do is it lets, like you can it creates an online marketplace for people to own the rights, right? To like reproduce it or to sell it or whatever, but it's free to consume, fundamentally free to consume. So I think that that's the difference that from like this traditional Spotify model. And like, what does Spotify do better than iTunes, right? Like before you had to pay to consume it. Now you don't have to pay to consume it, but you pay or not pay, but you listen to it, and your actual listen, the fact that you listen to it creates value for the song. Right. Like Spotify can monetize your ears listening to that music. I think that NFTs take that one step further, right? Like now it's totally free to consume, right? The audio's on blockchain. Anybody can listen to it. Anybody can access it. But if you want to do something commercial with it, then you have to purchase the rights to the song, which Dequency and Opulus are doing stuff like that, where you can purchase the right to use it in a commercial, et cetera. And the value of that purchase, the value of that license is the number of ears. It's like exactly proportional to the number of ears that have listened to it. So I think NFTs are going to change the game in that it's a popularity contest. Platforms won't be the ones that have the power. It'll be the content that has the power. Platforms will be distributors for that content.
Right.
Like there'll be some nice app where you can listen to every NFT song. It doesn't matter who minted it. It'll just be there for everybody to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
And the value will be from whoever's somebody will come up with a best system to keep track of who's listening to it. That's where the value will be for advertisers and it'll be fundamentally free to use, but somebody will keep track of all of the information about its popularity.
Right. It does empower the musician to get a lot more upfront payment and have less middlemen in the way. I wonder if there were to be, like, let's say you took the concept of Spotify or Apple Music or any of the music streaming services, brought it onto blockchain. I guess to eliminate ads from this system, you would need to integrate a micro payment per listen, like maybe 1/1000th of a penny or something. So everyone who listens to some song is paying for 1,000 songs, you pay 1 penny. For 100,000 songs, you pay $1. Maybe it could be even more. That'd be a way better deal than Spotify right now. But if we want to eliminate advertisers from the space, I feel like there has to be some type of payment. And someone made this point recently that in the decentralized world, the payments are going to more come from the users than like advertisers or sponsors and things like that. Because if it's free, then you are the product, so that you have to like be monetized in some way.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Well, I know you got to go soon. So if you have anything to share about Zestbloom, like any news, anything you want to plug, anything you want to let the audience know before we get out of here.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say two things. First thing is I really love Zestbloom's notifications feature. I don't think that's gotten enough attention. Like when somebody makes a purchase or an offer on your piece, there's a little bell icon. You get a notification that pops up, and you can click the notification. It'll take you to the offer, and you can reject your. So I've seen it on Twitter multiple times. People posting like, "We really need to make an offer Zestbloom has make an offer, and the artist even gets a notification when an offer is made. I think that's really cool. So I would encourage people to check that out. And then the second thing that I wanted to mention is KINN Foundation, KINN DAO. That's like kind of my other big project. So it's a multi-marketplace DAO. The basic goal is to get marketplaces to work together on the things that make sense for them to work together, and friendly competition for everything else, right? Like, I haven't seen an example of a multi-marketplace DAO yet, one that's like specifically designed to align incentives across every marketplace that joins. And so you can find us on Twitter at KINN DAO. And we're going to launch a token pretty soon, maybe in March. And I'm really excited to do that because I think it's gonna be the first example of a multi-marketplace DAO where people can rank and vote and express, like we've been talking about this whole time, express their opinion about what's subjectively more valuable. That's kind of the consumer aim of it, right? Give people a platform where, kind of like Reddit, where you can vote, you can express your opinion. It'll all be on chain. And then the other big service that we're offering is, I come from deep learning, machine learning background, so I have an algorithm that will detect for near duplicates. So if somebody, for images or video, if somebody rips a copy of it directly, or just changes a single pixel or changes a few pixels but doesn't change anything else, it'll be registered as a duplicate.
Gotcha.
So okay. There'll be some automatic protection, trying to build something like YouTube's Content ID.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to.
And that'll be free for everybody.
I'm gonna need to get you back on here to talk about KINN more. We didn't even really touch upon it today, but I think it's a dope project. Sounds like you're basically trying to create the NATO of NFT marketplaces on Algorand.
Yeah, somewhere between like a union and a cooperative, getting everybody to work together and like come up with standards. And then because all of our incentives are aligned, there's no reason to like compete on the standards, right? Like,
right. If all the incentives are aligned, get people to put a little skin in the game, and pull in the same direction, and it'll accelerate the growth of the NFT ecosystem, and therefore the Algorand ecosystem, like, greatly. Just eliminate fraud as much as possible. Rank projects, rank the validity of projects, all that stuff. Really excited.
More compatibility between platforms, and like the other big thing there is with compatibility, right? Like you want everybody working together so that it's all usable across every marketplace. So
right.
I think it'll be cool. It'll be value add to the ecosystem.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really excited for that. We'll get you back on here, and we'll talk about that more in a few weeks as we approach KINN DAO launch. Evan, thanks so much for coming on. Like, it was great to talk to you. Love your opinions and your takes on things. So thanks so much for pulling up.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for inviting me. And it's such a pleasure to be on AlgoHQ. I feel like I've really come full circle, right?
It's crazy. Introduced to the Algo NFT series through this channel, and then I'm asking you to come on as a guest of honor. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much too.
Yeah.
All right. Take it easy.
Have a good one. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.